Welcome viewers to this series of lectures on ancient India, and we are talking of the post Mauryan period, and the theme that we have chosen to talk about today is the economy in the post Mauryan period. And in the previous part, this of course is the sequel to the earlier discussion that we had. So, we are not going to talk about it again, and straight away just as a background discussion, all I can tell you is that we are talking of the timeline from 2nd century BCE to 3rd century CE, that is pre-Gupta period. This is the timeline that we are going to talk about. And then in the previous part of the lecture, we have spoken of the post-modern economy in terms of expansion of agrarian frontiers, expansion of urbanism, intensification of urbanism, trade, commerce, and trade not only limited to inland trade, but overseas trade also. This is the time when we get to hear of the discovery of monsoon by the West, or maybe that they called monsoon as Hippalus, or some confuse it with a person who perhaps discovered it. So, there is a lot of ambiguity around it, but fact of the matter is that in political terms, in the northwestern India, we have the predominant presence of the Kushanas, who had their political epicenter somewhere in the Central Asia, and a good part of North India was part of Kushan Empire, and this facilitated more intensive interaction during this period of Indian economy to the Chinese as well as the European economy, because the lucrative Silk Route happened to pass through the Kushan Empire, and the Kushan Empire is what is ruling over a good part of North India as well. So, some benefits or some connections can be seen here. Now, this Silk Route, which originated from Luoyang in China, and it went to Central Asia, then it went to West Asia, and then to Eurasia, and finally it terminated at the Mediterranean port of Antioch and Alexandria. So, this is the route of the silk trade, which is also known as a Silk Route. And somewhere in between in Central Asia, you have the Kushanas who were ruling over this part, and India, North India happened to be a part of Kushan Empire. So, there is some linkage of Silk Route with Indian economy as well around this time. We will see as to how it happened. Bactria, which can be identified as northeast Afghanistan in the present times, of course, was of strategic importance in this trade because of its soil fertility, because and we also know of Mazar-e-Sharif. So, this is the area that we are talking about. Of course, Mazar-e-Sharif came much later, but in visualizing this area, it could be of help. So, this Bactria area is extremely important in this silk trade, and it happened to be located right in the middle of this Silk Route. Kushanas had established a huge empire with Bactria as the nucleus, including North India in the 1st century BCE, and this is something that we all know and we have spoken about it as well. Now, here if you look at the entire Silk Route from China to Europe via Central Asia, West Asia and so forth. So, we have 3 or 4 major empires who are there. Of course, Kushanas in Central Asia and the northern part of India, and then there are 3 other major powers: Han Empire in China, Arsacid or the Parthians in Iran, and of course, the Roman Empire in the West. So, this is the political presence of big empires around this time in the post-modern period, and so long as these empires maintained a consistent policy towards trade, the Silk Route was functional. But with the Parthians developing an extortionist policy towards the silk traders, there developed a need for an alternative intermediary to facilitate movement of merchandise. So, what is it that we are trying to talk about? We are saying that the Silk Route was very functional till there is collaboration or there is cooperation between these big empires. But with the coming of the Parthians in Iran area, there is some kind of a change of policy of the Iranians or the Parthians, and their attitude towards this lucrative trade became little extortionist, and therefore, the silk traders tended to avoid this area under the Parthians. So, they were in search of some alternative route by which they could transport items from China to Europe or from Europe back to China, right. So, in order to avoid the Parthian area, obviously, they had to take sea route, which is through the Arabian Sea, and this is where their interaction with the Indian economy comes into picture. So, due to the disturbance, due to the extortionist policy of the Parthians, Indian landscape comes into picture in the middle of this lucrative silk route or lucrative silk trade. And the advent of the Kushanas in the 1st century BCE to around 262 CE fulfilled this historical need, because due to the Kushanas, the traders could avoid the Parthians and go down south from the usual silk route, come to the Arabian Sea, use ships to transport their items across the Arabian Sea, across the Red Sea, and reach Alexandria or Antioch in Africa and Europe, so to say, around the Mediterranean coast. So, for this brief period, this area was part of the Silk Route, and incidentally, at around this time, it is the Kushanas who are ruling over northern part of India, and that is how India comes into picture in this story of the silk trade. So, that is one. The second thing, as we said in our discussion earlier, that post Mauryan period is characterized not only by inland trade, but also by seaborne trade. So, from around this time, that is in the post Mauryan period, say 2nd century BCE onward, 1st century BCE or 1st century AD, 1st century CE, we start getting the evidence of awareness of the Western traders or the European traders or European navigators about a phenomena that characterized Indian Ocean, and that is the monsoon wind. The sheer fact that now the Europeans are using the Arabian Sea or Indian Ocean in order to come to India or even go beyond to Southeast Asian area. So, there is increased awareness about this feature of the Indian Ocean, and that is the monsoon wind, because it was very crucial, it was very critical to their navigational direction and safety and so forth. So, they would avoid moving into the deep sea or sailing in the deep sea during the monsoon months because of the strong moisture laden wind, the monsoon wind as we know it. So, they would confine their movement to the sea coast areas or littorals, and that is how the ships perhaps navigated in these 3-4 months of monsoon during this period. So, there are so many Greco-Roman texts which speak about this phenomena in the Indian Ocean. And although the discovery of monsoon by a particular person of Greco-Roman origin, or the nomenclature itself, because the word itself is of Arabic origin, Mausam, which signifies season and so forth, that came later. But their awareness, Europeans' awareness about this wind, of course, is very much there in the post Mauryan period. And what we get as evidence is the regular oceanic voyages that were carried out between the Red Sea ports and the Indian harbors, and this process had ensued by this time, that is in the post Mauryan period, and therefore, the Asian luxury items, that is silk and several other items, could now reach the Roman world also through the subcontinent, from where those could be shipped to the Roman market. So, in addition to the conventional silk route which was overland, now in the post Mauryan period, during the Kushan period, the silk route also took this maritime route from Central Asia down south, from northwestern part of India to Arabian Sea, and from there along the littorals to the Red Sea, and then to the Mediterranean coast, and then to the internal Roman market. So, that is how this route is taking it to the Indian subcontinent. And therefore, there was the incorporation of South Asia in an international commercial network, which was partly overland and partly overseas. And this is the larger you can say trade economic complex, of which Indian subcontinent also became an active part or active player, right. So, what are the sources of the Indo-Roman trade from where we get this critical evidence? That is what we shall be talking about in this or till the end of this lecture, and we will see that the intensification or this occurrence of maritime contact, maritime intercourse with the Roman world is something which comes across to us through several sources, right. All of us must have heard of the periplus of the Erythraean Sea, right. Erythraean Sea means Red Sea, right. Now, an anonymous Greek sailor is supposed to have authored this, and it was written around the last quarter of the 1st century CE. And in this text, we have evidence of maritime trade between the Roman world and the Indian subcontinent, and even beyond to Southeast Asia. Items of trade are mentioned. What are the items of exchange? Ports and marts where ships could station, or where goods could be loaded, unloaded. So, they are mentioned, and we it matches with our own sources of trade and commerce coming from various Indian sources, say Jatak stories and so forth. So, trades and ports and marts are mentioned in the periplus of the Erythraean Sea. Patterns of navigation and sailing in the northern and western parts of Indian Ocean is also something that can be gleaned from periplus. So, when we say patterns of navigation, what we mean here is something that we just now discussed, that in which particular direction would they navigate, what are the months to avoid, when they would station at a particular port, and so forth. So, that tells you that they were now aware of the monsoon wind originating in Indian Ocean, and the kind of threat it could impart to the navigational route, particularly the deep sea navigational route or high seas navigational routes. In particular months, they would avoid, or in monsoon months, they would avoid getting into the high sea, and they would station themselves at particular spots, at particular ports and marts. And historians these days speak of four-legged route from Europe to India. So, it was not a direct kind of oceanic route from Erythraean Sea to the western coast of India. Rather, they would move along the say Iranian coast or northwestern say Makran area, and then to Gujarat to Maharashtra area, and so forth. So, this is the route that they were taking, and whatever ports and marts that they encountered are mentioned here in these texts. Another source that we have, which informs us in abundance about this maritime trade and route in the postmodern period, is the natural history, Naturalis Historia by Pliny, and this was written around 79 CE. And this particular text also mentions about Indian imports in the Roman market. So, obviously, it is not items that are coming only from Europe to India. Indian items are also being transacted. In fact, the European sources tell us very unambiguously that the balance of trade was in India's favor at around this point of time in the postmodern period. Some of the Roman kings are even lamenting the loss of gold and bullion from European market to the Indian market, right. They are talking about some of the items of fine craftsmanship or fine make that are coming from India to Europe, particularly the textiles, right. The fine quality of Indian textile is something which is registered in these texts which are coming from Europe. Geography by Ptolemy is yet another very popular kind of a source from where we get information about the maritime trade that was happening with the Roman world in the postmodern period, particularly section 7 of Geography by Ptolemy contains information about India in terms of the ports, the cities, the inland towns, and so forth. So, these are some of the European sources that tell us about the maritime trade activity that was happening between the two worlds in the postmodern period. But it is limited not only to the European sources, even our own sources, say the Jatakas, the Jatak stories and the Sangam literature. Also, they appear to be very familiar with this trade that was happening through the maritime route, and Jataks and Sangam literature show awareness about this increased quantum of trade that was happening around this time. So, this maritime trade as an instance is something which is registered not only in the European sources, but also in our own Indian sources. It is not only through literary evidence or such textual evidence that we know of this trade that is happening across the Indian Ocean, across the Arabian Sea with the Roman world. But even archaeological sources inform us about this. So, archaeologically also this claim is verified. So, we have the findings of large number of coin hoards, mostly in South India, and particularly that of the Roman coins, which were used as bullion and local currencies perhaps. Now, this is important to understand the difference between, say, bullion and coins. So, what perhaps was being used as coin in a market driven system in the Roman world, when it comes to South India, where that level of development or monetization is yet to happen. So, the people say the inhabitants of Sangam age, these people are now using these coins. They know it is valuable, but there is no market or very developed market that is present here. So, it cannot serve as coins, but they knew about the significance and importance of these gold coins, and so it was used as bullion. It could be used as some ornament, or they just kept it as part of hoard, buried inside soil and so forth. So, that it is valued item is something which is known to them, and some of it of course were also used as local currencies to facilitate transactions, economic transactions. So, archaeological sources for the maritime intercourse with the Roman world in the post-modern period also includes the findings of some Italian potteries, and they are referred to as Argentine ware in the archaeological parlance. And a lot of Argentine ware has been found belonging to the postmodern period from the site called Arikamedu. So, that is where we have a lot of evidence of items of Roman make entering Indian landscape or Indian economy as such. Apart from Argentine ware, we also have amphorae, glass works of Roman make that are there in South India. In different findings, we do get evidence of so many European items that perhaps were entering Indian market, and of course, we were also giving something in return, and that is how the trade was happening. The works of Vimla Begley and Richard Daniel, this work has very nicely brought out in great bit of detail as to what is the level of transaction that is happening and so forth. So, this takes care of the maritime trade that is happening during this period of time. Of course, when we meet next, we can talk about the rhythm of this maritime trade between the Roman world and Indian subcontinent nature, also penetration, whether it was limited to the coastal areas or where the inland towns and urban centers or inland settlements were also part of the complex. Because what is interesting is that these items are not limited to findings of these items are not limited to the coasts which are on the western coast of India. Several ports that are mentioned in these texts also belong to the eastern coast of India, that is the Coromandel coast or the eastern littoral. Archaeologically also there are several sites on the eastern littoral, from where also we have a lot of evidence of Argentine ware or other European items. So, one ponders as to how it is happening. I mean, is it that the Roman ships are stationed on the western coast, and then through inland route it is coming to the western to the eastern coast, and from there again it is shipped to Southeast Asian area? Or is it that the same ship is circumnavigating the peninsular India, and from western coast it reaches the eastern coast, the Coromandel coast, and from there also it goes to Southeast Asian region? So, these are some of the points that historians keep talking about with reference to the post-Mauryan maritime trade. Right. So, these are some of the coordinates of the discussion and debate about the maritime trade that was happening around this time. Also, just as a caution, it's important to understand that what is the level of participation of Indians in this trade? Is the impulse coming from Indians, or is Indian participation very active, or is it that they just happen to fall in between the transaction of items from the Mediterranean coast to Southeast Asia? That's why they are caught up in this Indo-Roman trade. So, these are some of the things that needs further discussion, and when we meet next we shall be talking about these aspects of the maritime contact with the Roman world in the post-Mauryan period also. So, that would be like stretching the discussion on economy of the post-Mauryan period to further dimensions, and that is what we shall be doing when we meet next. Thank you.